What's going on, everybody? Corey here, and it's been a long time since the last video. I've actually recorded a few and then never edited and posted. But today I wanted to kind of talk about some recent stuff. I'm gonna try not to name any names of any offenders, other than kind of like the main um, company that's come out, fronting the bounty hunt, which I'm sure you've heard of. But this all stems back from, it all goes back to just kind of like the core question of teaching magic online. And that's always been a very gray area. There's teaching, are you teaching your own things? Are you teaching other people's things? Uh, are you just teaching basic sleights? And at what point does it become exposure? For me, that's all. For me personally, it's really all exposure. Um, I'm very big. I do think there needs to be some form of barrier to get into magic. Um, and I hear the people say, "Oh, well, I don't have a magic shop close by, or if it wasn't for YouTube, wouldn't be doing magic." And there's always some kind of resource. We are in the internet age, or we have online magic shops. We have affordable places online to learn. And even like when I was little, like I didn't have my own money to learn, but my parents, I had got my allowance for doing stuff, and we would drive like once every 2 months and go to the local magic shop, which was like an hour and a half away, and I could get me something. So I do. It's one of those, like, for me, like, I think you have to work for it. That's just a personal opinion. Now, getting off on what constitute, what should you be teaching if you are going to teach online, or there is going to be stuff online. And I think that depends. I think it depends on the teacher. I think it depends on all sorts of just different factors. So I think, we need good teachers. Again, I do think there should be some barrier to entry. Like, I do think, like, if you're going to teach on YouTube, maybe you charge, maybe it's a member's fee where maybe you only charge like $5 a month. Or maybe it's a Patreon, or that you only charge like $1 a month. But just some kind of barrier to entry where you can't just search it. Because I do hear some people say, it's like, oh, well, I put what I teach, I have this huge build up, and then 6 minutes into it is when I start teaching the trick, because people have dropped off by then. But that's not necessarily true. Like, if you're saying that you're teaching a trick in the video, people are going to fast forward till they get to the explanation. That's the nature of the beast, especially how we are today with so much impatience to wait for anything. But this all stems from Illusionist has put out a post basically calling out someone who is quite the offender. They have taken many things that they have not had permission to teach, and gotten a lot of pushback from the community and the creators themselves. And anytime they're reached out to, uh, be in a very civil way or not a civil way, they just immediately block the person reaching out to them. They will not have a conversation. They're like, nope, I'm not going to deal with you. I can do what I want because I was on Penn and Teller Fool Us, basically. I don't know if that's really their attitude, but they don't seem to care, and they seem to think that they're above, the morals of magic. But there's a lot of people that are exposing YouTube or exposing magic. Now, Illusionist just kind of called out this one, and there's been some backlash to Illusionist for calling out this one, and there's been talk saying, oh, it's certain reasons why this one person was called out, and I don't think there's anything in particular that caused them to call us out, except for it was the most recent one. And this person, again, has a history of teaching things that does not belong to them, that is still, that are actual tricks. that you can buy and things like that. Um, and there's a lot of people that do it, and I think that if it was one of the other people that called out something that had taught something that was part of Illusionist, something that they sell, or something that's part of a project that they sell, I think they would have called that person out too. It's weird to defend Illusionists, but that's kind of my stance on that. But there's a lot of people that teach, and as a Magic community, we do need to be self-governing. We do need to teach ethics in Magic, and we need to create those. We need to one discuss it as a community, like what is acceptable, what is not. And there's going to be outliers. Um, I know I said I wasn't going to call out any names, but I am going to mention Rick Holcomb. Holcomb. Sorry, Rick, I don't know how to say your name. You're not going to watch this video anyway. But he puts out a lot of stuff into the Magic community. Amazing coin work. And he, on his YouTube channel, he teaches some Magic. Rick is an incredible teacher. Rick is an incredible magician. Um, he's teaching a lot of basics that you find in Bobos. Now, I don't necessarily love the fact that he teaches things, but to me, he is one of those, like, he's a good teacher. And a great magician. He's a great teacher. And that's what we need. We need great teachers and great magicians teaching. The problem with a lot of people who are teaching Magic on YouTube is they're not great in either category. Even ones that have stopped teaching and moved on to other parts of their channels on YouTube fall into that category. But I think it goes back to, working for things. It's like in wrestling. You don't, like, someone doesn't just, like, jump into the ring and wrestle because they've watched WWE and shit like that. You have to go through and you have to pay your dues. You have to work your way up. You have to go through tryouts and training and everything else. And like our tryout sessions in wrestling, when I would host tryouts to get into like All-Star Wrestling, it was an 8-hour tryout day with like a 1-hour lunch break, and we put you through the ringer. And then even before you could do a show, like, you had to pay your dues. You had to be on the ring crew, set up, tear down. You had to run concessions. You had to run music. You had to do ring announcing sometimes. Sometimes you might even have to be a referee. Sometimes it was just simply you were there to set up the tables and set up the chairs and different things like that, paying your dues. And then when you finally got in, you were, doing jobbing. And Magic, like, that barrier to entry has gotten less and less and less. And you always hear the argument, too, for exposure on Magic and teaching Magic online. Mostly exposure. And I do think there is a difference between exposure, and teaching. But you still have to be ethical in the way you do it. But a lot of the argument is, well, this is going to, magicians need to learn a better way to do things. But there's only so much you can do. There's only so much that you can do. Like, if you're exposing a double turnover, which luckily most people teach incorrectly and name wrong. They call it a double lift and it's a double turnover. But they teach horrible ways of doing it in a lot of cases. Not always, but you need to, like, when you're teaching something like that, there's only a finite way of getting to that position. Like, and people started switching, with the exposure to the double turnover to doing, like, top changes or second deals. But then those get taught on YouTube. And then, so it's just, like, it's just this ever rolling, changing ball of hot garbage that's happening. And I don't have the answers on how to fix it, but I do think I personally would like to, like, if I were to sit this, I was like, I'm going to teach Magic on YouTube. If that was something I decided I wanted to do, I would have, like, just a membership fee, and maybe, like I said, maybe it'd be $5, maybe it'd only be $1, like, something like that, something small to get people. That way, it was an easy way in, but you still had to pay for it. Like, you still had to contribute something to it, because that's the thing with learning a lot of things, or learning skills or things like that. If you're not putting into it, if you're not, if there's not that barrier to entry, a lot of times you won't get that much from it. There are some, differences, but like different things that contribute to that. And I'm rambling, but it's just my biggest issue. My biggest thing here. I'm trying not to be controversial. Um, and I'm trying to be understanding of both sides, because I do get that a lot of people have gotten into Magic because of learning from YouTube. But saying, like, I don't know. You also hear people that say, well, you're not just going to have that recommended to you. And that's not necessarily true. I've done the experiment of starting a brand new YouTube, not looking up anything related to sleight of hand, magic, illusions, anything like that. And I still inevitably get it recommended to me. And that's under a completely new Gmail, YouTube, everything that is not connected at all to anything magic. And I still eventually get it recommended to me. And God forbid I search just one time for how to do, coming in from as someone who wants to look up something, which you also hear the argument, if they're looking it up, then they genuinely have an interest in magic, and that's not true either. People are curious, and they genuinely just want to know how things are done. It's human nature to just want to know how something works. Like when you're younger and you're watching the TV, you want to know how it works. You want to know, like, how a VCR works, like when I was growing up. You want to know these things. Like, it's knowledge. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more indispensable you are in jobs. So it's human nature to want to know things, to want to know how things work. Um, but yeah, I'm going all off the wall in here. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Keep it civil. Um, I don't want anyone name calling anyone that's exposing magic, as much as you might want to. I don't want anyone ripping apart illusionists, even though I know you want to. It's hard to come to their defense. Like I said, it's really hard to side with them. But let's just have a civil conversation in the comments down below. What do you think needs to be done? Like, what is everything just hunky dory the way it is? Should there be at least some kind of barrier to entry with magic, like there always has been? Um, yeah, like I would just love to hear some thoughts, have some comments. Also, Tyler Rabbit put out a video very similar to this recently. It seemed like everything with this blew up this weekend. So check out Tyler Rabbit's video. Like, I think he has a lot of really good points. Um, he gets his points across a lot better than I am right now. But check out Tyler Rabbit's video. I think it's a great video to look at. And I think I don't remember if he does any specific call outs. But yeah, so let's have some conversations down below, and we will see you soon. I guess maybe I'll get back on to doing regular videos again. We'll see. Peace.